So I think that this being in intimate relationship with oneself on a somatic level is something that is, in a way, won or developed or accomplished through aspiration and continuing to sit in meditation. And good posture is helpful. So having a posture that's upright and relaxed enough that you can settle into yourself. It's one of the phrases that Jogen Sensei used for Zazen was, Zazen is settling the self on the self. Something of that nature. And I think he was pointing to this tendency to get out of phase with ourselves. In a way, what this is not a doing or a technique, but it's the absence of a doing. It's a noticing the ways that we vacate. It's a noticing the ways in which, for example, let's say I have heartache, or I have a feeling of sadness in my guts or my throat, and I register that with awareness, but before I know it, I'm not really abiding in the midst of that texturing, but somehow I've tuned it out, or my meditation has become rational and mind-centered. I've become a spectator of it rather than abiding as the texturing of that experience. So the natural state, we could hypothesize, is one of intimate embodiment, wakeful, sensitive, willing to feel. And so what we're doing is really a corrective measure of relaxing into our condition as is. Now, sometimes I notice that I have, like, for example, an intense heartbreak, and mindfulness registers that. And so then I bring intentionality to counteract the tendency to vacate that intensity. And so therefore, in a way, within the whole gestalt of the body, within the global awareness of the body breathing, I will put a zoom in, or I'll use intentionality to have, for example, the heartache be the center of that more global awareness. And so then at that point, I'm really just abiding in the heart. And that's somatic, and that is emotional, and that is of the nature of awareness, all seamlessly integrated. Because that's how it is when we abide there. And then I notice, okay, I've vacated, or my attention has wandered, and I come back to that willingness to feel, but in a particular location. Because sensation is always particular and it's always local. In a way, the situation of Zazen, where we can relax to some degree, and we have the vessel of, let's say, the meditation hall, and whatever conditions there are, that allows us to do this work in a very amplified way, part of what makes it precious. But in everyday life, we may not have that blessing, that support. But nonetheless, the very fact that we notice an emotion means that it's presencing. It's there. It's calling for attention. It is attention rising up, this anxiety, or this sadness, or this heartache. It's attention's form as sadness, as tenderness, as anxiety. And so, in a way, it's right there. And the challenge is having the intentionality to do this work in the midst of the busyness of everyday life be with us, so that we remember in the midst of those interactions, activities, daily rhythms. So for me, it is primarily, let's say in the midst of my work tasks, it is an inclusion. It's an act of noting that helps me include. So, oh, okay, I'm feeling some heartache. I'm answering emails, and for whatever reason, some sadness rises up, and I just note that. To name that it's there in a way is like highlighting its presence, highlighting and honoring its presence in the mandala of my experience of the moment. Because it's so easy to, in the busyness and the task-oriented forward motion, to not really let those things in. There's a time and a place for everything. It may not be that my morning round of answering emails is the time to attend with any depth to my emotional life, but I can note. I cannot turn away, and that noting and that not turning away begins this habit of a more intimate and caring relationship with myself.